Hello everyone and welcome back to HSE Career Hub. This is part 4, the final part of our ISO 45001 series. And I want to say well done for reaching to this point. Whether you watched all 4 parts in one setting or come back over several days, the fact that you are here means you have taken the time to really understand the standard, and that matters a lot. In part 1, we built the back picture. In part 2, we went deep into the context, leadership, and planning. In part 3, we looked at how the system is supported and how it operates in the real world every day. Now, in part 4, today we will complete our journey of ISO 45001. We are covering classes 9 and 10, performance evaluation and improvement. This is the check and X stage of PDCA cycle that we mentioned in our first video. This is where you find out whether everything you have planned and put in place is actually working, and then you use that knowledge to keep getting better and better. Let us finish this properly. The big picture of class 9. Up till now in this standard, we have been building and running the safety management system. But here is the question that class 9 asks: how do you actually know if your safety management system is working? So you can have a well-written occupational health and safety policy. You can have a detailed hazard register. You can have trained workers and documented procedure. But if you never step back to check whether all of that is delivering real, meaningful improvement in worker safety, then you are operating blind. Class 9 is the check stage of plan, do, check, act cycle. It has 3 distinct parts. The first part in class 9.1 is about monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. This is about deciding what to measure, measuring it regularly, analyzing what the result means, and using that analysis to evaluate how well the system is performing. The second part is class 9.2 is the internal audit. This is a formal, structured, and independent process where the organization examine whether its safety management system is actually being followed and whether it is genuinely effective. The third part, class 9.3, is the management review. This is where top management personally sits down, examine all the evidence of system performance, and makes real decisions about what needs to change or improve. Together, these 3 activities close the cycle or loop. Without them, you are running a safety management system without ever truly knowing whether it is working or not. Let us go deeper into class 9.1, which is monitoring, measurement, and evaluation. Now, there is a well-known saying in management where we say you cannot manage what you do not measure. And that's true. But I would add to it, measurement only has value if you choose the right things to measure and if you actually use what you find. So what must you monitor and measure under ISO 45001 is the real question. The first area is the fulfillment of your legal requirements. not just whether you know what your legal requirements are, but whether you are actually meeting them in practice. This is an important distinction. The second area is your progress towards your occupational health and safety objectives. Are you on track? Are you meeting the milestone you set when you planned your objectives? If not, why not? The third area is the effectiveness of your operational controls. Are the control you put in place, the procedures, the barrier, the equipment, the training, etc., actually preventing harm, or are they present on paper but not function in reality? The fourth area is work-related incidents in occupational ill health. How many incidents are occurring? What types? Are they increasing or decreasing over time? What are the trends telling you the story? Now, the standard also guides us to think about two distinct types of performance indicators. And I want to spend a moment on this because it's really practical and useful. The first type is what we call lagging indicators. These measure things that have already happened. The number of last time injuries last month, the number of incidents reported this quarter, the number of days lost to occupational illness. Lagging indicators tell you about your past performance. The second type is leading indicators. These measure activities that predict future safety performance. For example, what percentage of planned safety training have been completed on time? How many hazards have workers reported this month? What percentage of corrective action have been closed on schedule? Leading indicators tell you about the health of your safety system right now in the present before incident happen. A well-designed monitoring and measurement approach uses both lagging and leading indicator. Lagging indicators help us to understand what has happened. Leading indicators, on the other hand, help you prevent what might happen next. Now let us look at a specific but very important part of clause 9.1, the evaluation of compliance, which is clause 9.1.2. I want to start with something that sounds obvious but is genuinely missed many times. Identifying your legal requirement is not the same as complying with them. You can have a perfectly organized register of every applicable law and regulation and still be failing to meet several of them in practice. The evaluation of compliance is what bridges that gap. So ISO 45001 requires you to actively and regularly evaluate your actual compliance status. It is not enough to assume you are compliant. You must check and ensure it. There are four steps to do this properly. The first step is to determine how frequently each legal requirement will be evaluated. Not every requirement carries the same level of risk. Requirements that relate to higher risk activity should be evaluated more frequently. Lower risk requirements can be reviewed less often, but they must still be reviewed on a planned schedule. You cannot simply forget about them between certification audit. The second step is actually carrying out the evaluation. This might look different for different requirement. For some, you might carry out a physical site inspection. For other, you might review documented records. For some, you might interview workers who carry out the relevant task. For other, you might use testing or sampling. The method should match the nature of requirement you are evaluating. The third step is to take action if a gap is found. If your evaluation reveals that you are not meeting a particular legal requirement, you do not simply note it and move on. You treat it formally, okay, through your non-conformity and corrective action process, which we will cover shortly in class 10. And the fourth step is to maintain your knowledge of your compliance status and retain records of every evaluation you carry out. These records are important evidence both for internal and external audit process. We use them internally for accountability and externally for audit process. One final and important reminder on this slide: legal requirements changes. Okay, regulations are updated. Every laws come into force. New laws come into force. With that, old laws are amended. Your compliance evaluation process they must keep pace with those changes. They should not be stagnant and outdated. We must keep pace with those changes, which means our register of legal requirement must also be kept current. They will be communicated to the legal department, so they must keep updated. Now we come to the internal audit, which is class 9.2. I want to begin by clearing a misunderstanding that I encounter quite often. An internal audit is not the same as an inspection. It is not a walk around the site looking for a hazard. It is not a performance management exercise. And it is absolutely not a fault finding exercise designed to catch people doing something wrong. But actually, an internal audit is a structured, planned, and independent process that asks a specific question, which is: does our occupational health and safety management system conforms to its requirements, and is it actually being implemented and maintained effectively or not? They ask effective audit, internal audit, ask this question. Okay, and there are three specific things that an internal audit is designed to check. Okay, the first is whether the system conforms to the organization own requirements or not, like it conforms to its occupational health and safety policy, its objectives, and the process and procedures that the organization itself has established. The second is whether the system conforms to the requirement of ISO 45001, whether all the required elements of the standard are in place and function as they should. The third is whether the system is actually being implemented and maintained in practice, like not just on paper. This is often the most revealing part of our audit. The real question is whether the system is allowed to for the conduct of day-to-day work of the organization, or whether it only exists in document. For our internal audit program to meet the requirement of the standard, it must do several things. Like it must be planned and scheduled at regular intervals, not carried out on ad hoc basis whenever someone finds the time. Each individual audit must have a clearly defined scope and a defined set of criteria that will be used to make judgments. It should be not based on bias. Okay, auditor must be selected for their objectivity and impartiality. This means wherever possible, wherever possible, people should not be auditing their own work or their own area of responsibility. So to prevent the conflict of interest, the result of every audit must be reported to the manager responsible for the area being audited, and also to workers and where relevant, workers representative too. Any nonconformities, any nonconformities found during the audit must lead to corrective actions. The audit result is not the end of the process. It is the beginning of improvement. Remember this. And records of the audit program and the audit result must be retained as documented evidence. I want to leave you with something that I think captures the true spirit of an internal audit. The purpose is not to find someone to blame, okay? The purpose of, let me repeat, the purpose of internal audit is not to blame someone, but the real purpose is to find opportunities for improvement and to find them before an external auditor, a regulator, or an incident happens. Now let us talk about the management review, which is clause 9.3. This is perhaps the most misunderstood requirement in the entire standard. Many organizations treat the management review as a formality, a meeting where a set of slides is presented, a few questions are asked, and everyone signs off so the record can be fed for the auditor. That is not what ISO 45001 requires, and it is not what the management review is all about. The management review is a genuine, formal examination of the entire safety management system by the most senior people in the organization, not delegated to the safety team, not reviewed at an operational level, at the very top, and it must happen at planned interval, not just before external audit. The standard is specific about what information must go into the management review. The review must consider the status of actions from previous management reviews, where the decision made last time actually followed through. It must consider changes in the internal and external issues that are relevant to the safety management system. Has anything significant changed in the organization or the world around it? It must consider the needs and expectation of interested parties, um, workers, regulator, clients, and other still being appropriately heard and considered or not. It must look at the result of hazard identification and risk assessment. Are new hazard emerging? Are existing risks being adequately controlled? It must review trends in incidents, non-conformities, and corrective action. What patterns are visible? What is getting better? What is getting worse? It must also examine the result of monitoring, measurement, and compliance evaluation. It must also review the finding from internal audit. It should consider feedback from worker consultation and participation, and it must assess whether the resources available for the safety system are genuinely adequate. Now, all of that information goes into the review. But the real value of management review is what comes out of it. The output of management review must include specific decisions. Decisions about whether the system is still suitable, adequate, and effective. Decision about what specific improvements needs to be made. In these must be documented and acted upon, not just discussed. Okay. Decision about whether the system itself needs to be changed. Decision about what additional resources are needed. decision about whether the safety system should be more deeply integrated with other business processes. And crucially, these outputs must be communicated to workers. The management review is not a closed door exercise that workers never hear about. The result must be shared with everyone. Now we move into class 10, which is improvement. And we will start with class 10.2, which covers how organization deals with incident and non-conformity NCs. I want to begin with something that I think is genuinely important shift in perspective. Every incident that happen in workplace and every non-conformity that is found in a safety management system is an opportunity. It is an opportunity to learn something from. It's an opportunity to find a weakness in our system and make it stronger. In an organization that treats incident as learning opportunity will always be safer than one that treat them as problem to be closed and forgotten. Class 10.2 sets out 6 steps for responding to incidents and non-conformities. The first step is to react immediately. When something goes wrong, you act without delay. You take control of the situation. You correct what can be corrected. You deal with the immediate consequences. You do not wait for a formal process to begin before taking action. The second step is to investigate thoroughly. Once the immediate situation is under control, you go deeper. You investigate what happened. You ask not just what went wrong, but why it went wrong. This is what we call root cause analysis, the practice of digging beneath the surface, even to find the underlying reason why the incident was able to occur. Many organizations stops at the surface. The standard asks you to go much further and find the real root cause, underlying root cause. The third step is to review your existence risk assessments in light of what you have found, okay, in the incident investigation. Ask the question, did this incident reveal a gap in our hazard identification or risk assessment? If the hazard was already identified, why did the control not prevent the harm? If the hazard was not identified, then why not? It was identified. What does that tells us about our hazard identification process? The fourth step is to determine and implement the appropriate corrective action using the hierarchy of control. The action you take must be proportionate to the seriousness of the incident and must address the root cause, not just the immediate symptom. The fifth step is to go back and review the effectiveness of corrective action after it has been implemented. Did those corrective action actually work? Did it eliminate the root cause? Is the risk now properly controlled or not? Many organizations skip this step too, and as a result, the same incident reoccur in a slightly different form. The standard ISO 45001 requires you to close this loop, to stop the reoccurrence. The sixth step is to document everything and communicate what was learned to the relevant workers. Incidents that are investigated, acted upon, and then shared as a learning across the organization make every worker safe, not just the one directly involved. We now come to very final class of 45 ISO 45001, class 10.3, which is about continual improvement. I think this is in many ways the most important class in the entire standard, not because it is the most technical, it is not, but because it represents the attitude and the commitment that determine whether a safety management system in reality is alive or dead. Continual improvement is the promise that the organization makes, not once, not for a certification audit, but permanently, that it will never stop looking for a better, safer way of doing things. This is the most important thing. The standard requires the organization to continually improve, and there are 5 specific ways for it. The first is to enhance occupational health and safety performance, to keep finding ways to reduce risk further, to improve working conditions, and to prevent harm more effectively, not to maintain the current level, to keep improving it. The second is to promote a culture that supports the safety management system. That means building an environment through leadership, through communication, through genuine inclusion of workers, where people at every level of the organization genuinely, genuinely believes that safety matters, not just in word, in their daily actions and decisions. The third is to promote the participation of workers in implementing actions for improvement. The people who do the work are often the first to see where something could be done wrong, or how we can done this work more safely, creating the condition where their ideas are actively sought, genuinely listened, and acted upon is one of the most powerful things an organization can do for its safety performance. The fourth is to communicate the result of continual improvement to the workers. When something changes, when a process is made safer, when a hazard is eliminated, when a new control is introduced, worker must need to know about it. This builds trust. It shows that the organization is not just going through the motions. It demonstrates that the commitment to improvement is real. And the fifth one is to maintain and retain documented evidence of continual improvement. Keep records of the improvement journey over time. This evidence is valuable for internal learning, for demonstrating progress to our own management system, and for demonstrating the health of our safety system to external auditor. And I want to leave you with one very important clarification from the standard itself. The word used here is continual, not continuous. Continual means improvement that happens over time with intervals. Okay, it does not mean that every part of the organization must be improving simultaneously at every moment. What it does mean is that improvement must always be happening somewhere. The organization must never stand still. It shall not be stagnant. It must never decide that it has reached good enough and stop. In safety, good enough is never truly good enough, because the goal is zero harm, and zero harm requires an organization that never stop trying for continual improvement. Before we close, I want to take a moment to look at the complete picture, all 7 classes of ISO 45001 together, because I think it will be genuinely valuable to see how everything connects. You have covered a lot of ground across these 4 parts, and it can sometimes feel like a lot of separate pieces. But what I hope you can see now is that it is actually one coherent, unified system built around the plan, do, checked, act cycle. Class 4, 5, and 6 are the plan stage. Class 4 asks you to understand your organization and the world it operates in. Class 5 requires genuine leadership commitment and meaningful worker involvement. And class 6 asks you to identify your hazards, assess your risk, and set clear goals for where you want your safety performance to be. Class 7 and 8 are the do stage. Class 7 makes you sure you have everything you need, the right people, the right skills, the right communication, the right documents. And clause 8 puts all of that to work in the real world, controlling your processes, managing change, screening procurement, and being ready for emergency. Class 9 is the check stage. You monitor, you measure, you audit, you review. You find out whether all that planning and doing is actually delivering safer workplaces. And class 10 is the X stage. You take what you have learned and you improve. You respond to incidents. You eliminate the root causes of nonconformities, and you commit to never stopping continual improvement. That is the old system. That is ISO 45001. It is not a set of boxes to take. It is a way of managing an organization that puts the safety and health of its worker at the center of every decision, every process, and in everyday activities. And with that, we have reached the end of ISO 45001 introduction series. I want to close with 5 things, and I hope you will carry with you from everything we have created together. And the first is ISO 45001 is a complete system. Okay, every clause is connected to every other clause. Context informs planning. Planning drives operation. Operation is checked. Checking drives improvement. And improvement feedback into a better understanding of context. The cycle, PDCA cycle, never stops. The second is that people are at the absolute heart of the standard. Every single requirement, every clause, every subclause, every process traces back to one fundamental process: keeping real human beings, worker, safe and healthy at work. Never lose sight of that. The third is that a certification is a starting point, not a finishing line. Certification tells the world that you have a safety management system. What matters far more is whether that system is genuinely alive, whether it is honest about what it finds, and whether it is making your workplace measurably safer over time. Okay. The fourth is that this knowledge is a genuine and lasting career asset for you. Whether you work as a lead auditor, as a consultant, safety manager, a trainer, or in any rule and health and safety environment profession, understanding ISO 45001 from beginning to end is one of the most valuable things you can offer. It is recognized across industrial and set up many industries throughout the world. Okay. And the fifth and perhaps the most important things of all, keep learning and keep improving. The standard asks organizations to commit to continual improvement. As professionals, we should hold ourselves to the same standard. This series is the beginning of understanding ISO 45001, not the end. Read the standard, apply it, discuss with others, challenge it, come back to it as your experience grows. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching this series. I genuinely hope it has been clear, useful, and easy to follow, and that it has given you something real to take forward in your work and your career. If you find value in these videos, please share them with your colleagues who might benefit from them. You can leave us comment where we will reply to you. Um, there is a lot more content coming on HSE Career Hub, so stay tuned for that. Take every good care of yourself, take care of the people around you, and stay safe. Goodbye.